This edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by... Well, this is really embarrassing. I've now shot so many videos, I can't remember if this commentary is a repeat. But it is an idea that's been banging around in my head lately, whether I've done a video about it or not. At some point, the authorities may find...
You have guns and you have... Why are you threatening me?
That they have been handed an excuse. A reason to round up liberty activists in large numbers. The way they rounded up Muslim activists in large numbers. After 9/11. This excuse could be a false flag attack, where authorities basically attack themselves, like all sides in the Bosnian conflict were accused of doing. Or it could be a real attack, perceived to have been perpetrated by one or more freedom lovers. After 9/11, within the first few days after 9/11, authorities seized about 3,000 Islamic activists around the country. They were able to do it and largely get away with it.
You took an oath to defend the Constitution.
What would happen if authorities tried to round up all 1,000 or 2,000 New Hampshire liberty activists? Certainly, they've handled those numbers before. What if they've managed to silence independent media around the country? Or circumstances have made it preoccupied, just trying to stay safe and fed.
Or say it's a more plausible scenario. The authorities take out every free stater who's capable of directly reaching a wide audience.
Who tells the world what is happening to us? Well, obviously an event of this magnitude would draw the attention of the mainstream press, but that press would probably be even more pro-government at that point than it is now.
Now, in either scenario, the facts are going to get out, but why not be ready to get them out faster?
Now, our movement has already proven itself capable of getting its message out through a somewhat unsympathetic media. We're like Reagan in that respect. But ideally, we need our own independent infrastructure. One way of quickly rebuilding our independent broadcast capability might be this. I call it the Free State Foreign Legion. Suppose there were 10 or 20 foreigners living outside the United States, all over the world, known to everyone, who are always sort of standing by to receive and retransmit information, to quote-unquote broadcast information to the public. For example, let's say by some incredible turn of events, all 10,000 free staters around the United States were locked up or silenced in some way, including the 1,000 or so that already live in New Hampshire. Suppose there's no one watching the internet stateside because the feds have taken out their own power grid or terrorists have taken it out. It should still theoretically be possible for someone to get messages to these 10 or 20 foreign legionnaires about what's going on. These people would then be able to post what they know to whatever internet is remaining. They could use whatever mass communications links they are able. Ideally, it would be better to have hundreds of such legionnaires, but we got to start somewhere. If you want to be one of them, and you're willing to be publicly listed, shoot me an email through RidleyReport.com. Or just post your information to the link that's going to be in the video description. Of course, you could be adding your name to the list of those endangered, but that list is already pretty long, at least inside the U.S. Oh, and I do think you could be a U.S. citizen outside the country and do this pretty effectively, too. It's just that it's ideal to be a foreigner. A more decentralized, concurrent approach that I think should be taken, and that you can take yourself no matter where you live, make a list of 2 foreign friends who live outside the U.S. and keep their contact information with you everywhere you go. All the different ways of contacting them. Preferably, these two foreigners should each be in different parts of the world, and they should be somewhat savvy with communications. If local mass communications are not functioning correctly in the United States, if the independent media is down, you get your information out by contacting them. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to have two United States people in your list too, for use for this purpose in a smaller scenario. For instance, they say that whenever there's a disaster, it's usually pretty easy to call out but hard to call in, if the disaster is citywide, statewide, that sort of thing. You wouldn't want to lock yourself into having to call overseas if calling across the country would do the trick. Anyway, those are some things you can do if you're overseas. You could become part of what I call the Legion. If you're inside the country, you can at least list a couple of foreign friends in your wallet or on your computer to give information to. And then it will be up to them to spread it as best they can. It's time to start building the second independent media. Or maybe I could call it the backup independent media, aimed at free staters. Before the endy end, find a foreign friend. New Hampshire's State House, among the least bad governing institutions on earth. But even here, legislators plot theft and destruction. However, they don't do it without opposition. The New Hampshire Liberty Alliance stands in their path and stands ready to train you in the ways of the Citizen Freedom Lobby.
Visit nhliberty.org to get involved.